Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. Today, a very special guest is joining me for my birthday. And we're going to talk about horror, we're going to talk about Stephen King and the top 10. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, so basically this is my birthday and I would like to introduce you to my lovely beautiful wife Anita.
Hi
joining
everyone.
us. And so yeah, this is going to be a fun program, a fun video. We're going to talk a little bit about horror and her background in horror, and we're going to do a very fun top 10. But I'd like to start off with just, what is the first horror book you read? In terms of horror, where do you come from in your life? At what stage of your life? And how have you evolved as a person who loves horror and loves the genre?
The first horror book that I read was more or less in my mid-20s, and it was not really a horror book. It was Stephen King, The Gunslinger, the first one in the series. Absolutely loved it. At that stage I actually went to the library to take it out, so I didn't own the book. But I absolutely loved it, and what happened there is I moved on to another job, and unfortunately I got so busy I could not actually carry on.
And what is your husband been telling you to do?
To read the whole series, which I meant to do because it was absolutely stunning. I fell in love with Stephen King and with The Gunslinger, that very first book. It's a long time ago, but it was excellent. And then from there on, I think about a year after The Gunslinger, my friend lent me Maran by Graham Masterton. I fell in love with his writing style. That book I will never forget, and from there on there was no turning back for me. I just fell in love with horror, and
and I actually enjoyed the Maran. I gave it a 4-star.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, it's not right up there with me, but we might talk about that later.
Yes,
we might talk about that later.
Okay,
so in terms of other kind of genres you like, other kind of things you like besides horror?
I do like some drama, but dark drama. If it's something with a very
sort of
dark
literary fiction sort of thing.
Yeah, I do like that. I do not like romance or anything like that. I don't like non-fiction.
Otherwise I wouldn't have married.
I stay away from those things. But I think 80% of the books I read horror. The 20% will fall more into a very dark drama, or something that's got a very deep life lesson to take away, that actually hits you where it hurts the most. So
as I've said, I've also read a lot of stuff that's not horror. Sometimes that's important. You can't just read one genre, you get burnt out, and that's good to read a bit of everything. Just to get a bit of a and these holidays?
Variety. These holidays, I haven't had much time to read. I'm not as well read as you are, so I haven't read much lately. I read a lot in my life, but in the past year, 2 years,
it's been tough, eh?
Yeah, ever since we moved, I haven't had a chance to read. But for the holidays, I'm definitely planning on doing the Gunslinger
Dark Tower
series. Start again with the Gunslinger because it was so long ago, and then work my way through it. I'm very much looking forward to that.
It's going to be good. Okay, so what do you say we do a special top 10, a top 10 horror and other novels, a top 10 novels all time from my beautiful wife Anita. Are you happy to do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Actually,
so
let's have a look.
Let's get going.
So my number 10 book was actually a toss-up between two books. It was very difficult for me to choose. It was between Intensity, Dean Koontz, which I found absolutely exquisite. Very, very good book. Very well written. Love the female protagonist.
And we actually read that on holiday as well.
Yes, we did.
One after each other.
Yes, we did. You read it first. I followed because of your recommendation. I was very glad I did so. Very, very good book. Like I say, the female protagonist really got to me. I loved her. Everything about the character, and the scary part of the person coming after her is just, it was
epic, yeah.
However, it was kicked out of the number 10 spot by Stephen King, Rose Madder. Also a female protagonist in a way, not exactly the same as intensity, but this is my number 10 book, Rose Madder, Stephen King. I absolutely love this book. I love the way, first of all, Stephen King's writing style. He has got the ability to flesh out his characters, to form his characters in such a way that you fall in love with him. And as you go along, you start being next to them. And that's the next thing, the way he does world setting. He has the ability to pull you into a small town in such a way that when you are reading his books and someone talks to you, you're irritated because you feel like someone is actually pulling you out of that small town where you have been with the people he's writing about. That's the experience I have of Stephen King, and that's why I love his books so much. He's got the ability to make a bad guy look really bad. And
it's just good with characters.
He's very, very good. He's very good with the way he forms his characters. And like I say, you really feel like you're part of that story. And that is what I love about his writing. Yeah. It's one of the first things.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't actually say that it's in my top 10 or my top 20, but it was a good book. Remember, I read it.
Yes.
I said to you, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I think it was 3.5, 4 stars.
You went as crazy about it.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
This is your list.
That's my.
So what are we going to go with number 9?
So number 9, we've got surprise, surprise, also Stephen King, and this one is called The Institute. And this book took me by surprise because I didn't expect it to be as good. And I have read a lot of Stephen King books. I mean, I've read It, I've read The Stand, I've read Dreamcatcher, I've read basically all his older work. And so I didn't expect this book, The Institute, to actually take priority over the others. The reason why I love this book so much is because of the way I don't know, the whole story is interweaved so well. Yeah. And
those kids are just wow.
Fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic, and you feel the tension building he did in this book, and you know, you're rooting for that kid all the way, and you just want to turn this page.
And what those people are doing to those kids is just so wrong.
Yes.
On every level, and it is so horrific.
And it makes you, you know, and you're rooting for those kids, and you're specifically rooting for that boy, and I love that book. The tension throughout is that golden line that took me to the end of the book. I couldn't put it up. Yeah. So
to the
yes.
back, to the back half, right?
The back room. The back room. Yeah. And you know, eventually, what happens at the end is absolutely exquisite. So, yes, very much number 9, The Institute.
Yeah. And I actually, both of us think this is highly underrated.
Yes.
And really, I don't understand why. It was that epic read.
Very, very good.
Okay. Number 8? So
number 8, we spoke about this earlier, and that is Graham Masterton, Mirror. This book I have read 3 times, and if a book makes my top 10, it's probably something I have read more than once, or something I will read more than once in my lifetime. This one, personally, I've read 3 times. I love this book. I love the way that Graham Masterton also built his characters in this book. You can identify with each and every one of them separately. His writing style is fantastic. The setting of the story was fantastic. So there's a nice horror in here, dark elements. It is cruel.
Boofles.
It is boofles. It is cruel, and it is, you know, he doesn't hold back. Graham Masterton does not hold back, especially when it comes to horror and to body horror and that sort of thing. Yeah. But this was an excellent book. I will recommend this. You know, if someone wants to start reading Graham Masterton, this is a fantastic book. Really enjoyed that.
This wouldn't be in my top 10, but it's an excellent Graham Masterton book. It's actually probably the best by him that I've read, and it's a good place to start if you're looking at Graham Masterton. It's very readable. Yeah. Really horrifying, a great story. Give it a go. Okay. And we're just going to take a quick camera check here. Pause.
So coming in at number 7 is The House of Sand and Fog by Andre Dubus III, or Andre Dubus III. Dubus.
The French writer. Sounds French.
Not sure. But anyway, I read this book quite a long time ago. It stuck in my head. It was a very good book. It's a drama, very dark drama. And what I like about this book is the fact that he actually writes from both narrators, from both perspectives. So what he basically does
two different characters.
Two different characters, and each of them have got their own unique personality, two completely different backgrounds. So the one is American and the other one is is Persian.
Persian.
Yeah, so he's an immigrant. So you get, and even the way that the Persian person talks, he talks in a way that you can identify with that culture. And it actually gave me exposure to that culture that I never knew about. So it was a very interesting book.
I've never read this book.
It was very good.
I know that you've spoken about this book. I've never read this book yet. Hey, next year I'm going to read this book.
Very dark drama, very sad. It's about loss, it's about struggle, and it's about how people react in situations that they get pushed into without knowing how to basically go forward. That's basically what this was about. But the struggle was great.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it was a very good book. I loved it. Yeah.
You think I'll love it?
Yes, I think you do. Yeah, I think you will. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like Pat Conroy. Remember I've spoken about The Prince of Tides, that kind of drama, dark family drama sort of thing, without the southern sort of aspect in it. Yeah.
You're actually right.
I'll give this a try. I'll give it a try. Okay.
So number 6 is Watches by Dean Koontz. Now, this book I have also read 3 times, I must admit. And the first thing that comes to mind, Dean Koontz, I have read a lot of his books. In fact, I think there's only 2 that I haven't read. Except, it's about 2 that I haven't read. I've read most of his books. None of them.
Sorry to interrupt them. Why is he not your favourite author?
Because to me, his characters in all the books are pretty much the same.
Okay.
In most of his books, you can identify with it by a character and think it's more or less what the previous book was like. So, unfortunately, his books are forgettable. In most cases, if you ask me now,
just copying my other videos. That's what I said. That's what I said.
But it's true. It's true.
Now, unfortunately, sometimes, he's written some really good novels. Yeah. Right? Right?
He has.
And even when I was a teenager, I read a lot of Koontz. I read a lot of early Koontz. And the man can write. And he's written some great novels. But now, in our 50s, you look back, you can't remember him. I'm sorry, I can't. And this is not a putting down any Dean Koontz fans. This novel that you are talking about, that I've interrupted so rudely, I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
But this novel is brilliant.
Yes.
Carry on.
It is absolutely fantastic, and for a couple of reasons. The one is it's about a dog. I love dogs. I absolutely adore dogs. I'm a dog person. So the fact that there's a dog in the story was a pull for me. But apart from that, it is also the way a woman struggles to come into her own because of her background and her past, and how her path crosses with the dog, which eventually leads to the horror that follows. It's a brilliant book, and he had the ability in this book as well to just picture the characters in such a way that you're there with them, which he managed to do in this book, which he didn't manage to do in the other books except for Intensity.
Yeah,
Intensity is the other one, and this one he nailed it. If he wrote more books like this, I would have remembered them all. So
yes. I do remember Loving Lightning and Whispers and so on. The problem is that I can't remember the plots, and it's a problem if you look back. Yeah. The books that I've read by, let's say, Stephen King, Salems Lot, The Stand, I can remember them. I remember what it's about. Shoe Fly. But a lot of Dean Koontz, I don't remember the plots. I remember enjoying them, but I don't remember what the story was about.
Yeah. So that was Watches by Dean Koontz. In fifth position is an author, South African author who sadly passed away recently, and this book is called Eel in the Sky.
Wilbur Smith. Yeah?
Wilbur Smith, yes.
Yeah.
This is another non-horror, but the premise of this book is not a love story. It is a story about love. There's a big difference between the two for me. This is about cruelty. It is about loss. It is about coping with loss, and it's also about dealing with the consequences of your actions.
What is the basic story about?
The basic story is about a very rich, very attractive guy. That because he's very rich, inherited from his father, he is perceived to be a spoiled brat, which he is not really deep inside. And he meets this woman, Deborah, and through the relationship that they form, he basically finds himself. But then something completely tragic happens, not once but twice in their relationship, and it is very war orientated as well.
War?
Yes.
Isn't it an Israeli thing?
Yes. It's tragic. This book actually made me cry, and I don't cry in books, not easily. But this one, I think it was just a very good book because of the loss, the cruelty of people. Wilbur Smith writes a lot of cruel books. I cannot stomach most of his books, especially the Egyptian books that he writes about the cruelty. So I've got triggers, and animal cruelty is one of them. That's a trigger for me. That is actually DNF material, and the other one is torture, slavery, torture, that sort of thing. So, but this specific book, I can recommend if you want to read something that will basically tackle every single aspect of life. This one is fantastic.
I think you should take over my job.
No.
But yeah, I also absolutely love this author. I've read a hell of a lot by him. I think my favourite is probably Leopard Hunts in the Darkness. Maybe we'll put it up there. Yeah. But there are so many, and this is an incredible novel. But you have to be aware also the time in which this was written by this author, and there's a lot of African cruelty as well, and savagery, and the depiction of Africa is maybe not to everyone's liking. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in his books that there's trigger warnings, but still, as a sort of an adventure, violent adventure, dark, he's very good. I'll give Wilbur Smith a go.
Absolutely.
Okay. Over to you.
Right, the next one is a nice Christmas read, and oh man, I love this book. This one I've read twice, and I'm going to read it another 2 times in my life, if not more, and that is Joe Hill, Nosferatu.
My read for this month.
I absolutely love Vic McQueen. I love Lou in the story. I love the son, and everything about this book is just brilliant. I absolutely love Joe Hill. I've read Heart Shaped Box, and I would love to read all his books. I cannot wait to actually get into reading. If I've got the time. So Joe Hill is giving his dad a good go for his money. So you know, in a couple of novels, I might actually say that this is my favourite author. But he's very good. Honestly, if you've read Nosferatu, you can. Your viewers can tell you. But
I think my only letdown by him so far, and it wasn't that much a letdown. It was actually not bad. Was the one Horns?
Oh yes.
The guy with great horns. But everything else I've read by him is just absolutely phenomenal. So highly recommended.
Yeah, nice Christmas read.
Yeah.
Okay, so in third place is another Graham Masterton, and I'm actually surprised that I put this in front of the mirror. But in a way, this book actually hit me for some reason. Weird hurt, and it's Famine by Graham Masterton. I
was surprised by this choice, to be honest.
The premise of this book is basically what happens in a country where all of a sudden there is nothing to eat. There's starvation. It's coming, and everyone is going to basically starve to death. And the way that this famine came about, what's the word I'm looking for? The plan of how they actually managed to do it is brilliant.
Was it a conspiracy?
It was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And it was done so well that I absolutely love this book. It's cruel.
Yeah.
It's very, very cruel. It's got body horror in it. But to me, this book was very, very good. I loved it. If you know, Mirror and Famine are the two best Graham Mastertons that I've read of all of them, and I've read a lot of Graham Masterton.
And I must admit, I really enjoyed that.
No,
but I would actually put, what's it, The Devil's of D-Day?
Oh,
I like that more than Famine.
No.
I enjoyed Famine, but yeah, well, it's good. Everyone has different opinions.
I like the end of the world sort of scenario. I'm always drawn into
I mean, coming to that soon.
Yes, but I do love that. You know, how people react and how the actual characters come out. You see the same in the Dome, Stephen King.
Under the Dome.
Under the Dome, how the characters come out. But yeah, so that's basically what made this book
great read.
Yeah, very good read. I really loved it.
Famine. Yeah.
Number 2 is read this 3 times.
Yeah.
And that is Stephen King's Salems Lot. I've read a lot of Stephen King. I think this is one of the best novels he's ever written. It's everything about it. I can remember phrases from this book, and not because I've read it 3 times. I actually remembered it from the first time I read it. I loved it. It's well written. You find yourself in that little town. You find yourself there. You can actually see the Masterton house. You can actually smell the grass around. You know.
Just add in there. You know, it's almost like Stephen King creates towns that are characters. The town is a character.
Yes.
Everything about the town, from the buildings to the people that live in the buildings, becomes a character in itself.
Yeah.
And that's what he's so good at. Right?
And the small town, the fact that he does small town writing, and I love that. You know,
he understands how a small town is supposed to be.
Yes, and that makes you fall in love with the people so much, because he describes each of them so delicately sometimes. You know, and the way the characters come to life in his books, and in this one specifically, Mark Petrie. I'll never forget that name. It's in there because he was a hero, that little guy.
That little kid, yeah.
So yeah, this is my number 2. Stephen King. Salems Lot, yeah, Stephen King. So yeah.
Okay, and now before she announces the number 1, this is not biased. This is not done on purpose. We went on holiday. Actually, it was just up the road before we moved down here. And it was like a 2-week, 3-week break on the beach. And I read this book first. And I read this book in 2 days. And I gave it to my wife. And she read it in about 4 days.
4 days.
4 days,
yes.
And so this is a genuine thing for both of us. This blew us away on our holidays while we were reading.
Yes, so Salems Lot would have been my number 1 book if Cliff didn't introduce me to this one, and this is Swan Song by Robert Began. I absolutely adored this book. I understand why you love it so much. I could not put this book down. The characterization in this book, I think this is one of the books where, like Stephen King, where he puts you in a situation where you are part of that barren land. You can barren land. Where you can actually smell what they're smelling. You understand the
sucked into the world, like you sucked into this world.
It's very, very good. I could not put it down. You fall in love with the characters. Every single one of these characters. The bad ones are really bad.
Yeah.
And the good ones are, you care for them so much that you are rooting for these people to just, you know. And this one is another one that actually, this one scene that actually got me to tears. And yeah, very good.
This guy doesn't cry often in horror books. I cried in this book.
And it is hard.
And she would make me food, and I would say, go away, I'm reading.
Yeah.
I literally did not want to put this book down. And then when I gave it to her, it's exactly the same thing happened. So it is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, we both felt the same about it. So this was introduced, what, 2 years ago? Well, last year?
No. I think we read it sometime last year.
Last year, yes.
But no, it's been a while for it's been around for a while.
So I would love to actually try other Robert McCammon books, because if he writes his other books the way he does this
Boy's
one,
Life is great.
then he will become one of my favourite authors as well. I would love to read more of Robert McCammon because of his writing style. So you can see this guy can write. He's very good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
That is your top 10.
My top 10.
Hope I didn't interrupt you too many times.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Anyway, everyone, it was just so awesome to have my wife in a video with me. It was a very special birthday. She's spoiled me rotten with these t-shirts, with the light that's actually lighting us up, hopefully sufficiently, and a couple of other stuff for my channel as well, which I'll talk about another time. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you love my content, please be sure to like and subscribe and give a thumbs up. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, keep those pages turning, and cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.